I never really believed that a random encounter could change anything. I mean, come on, we see hundreds of people every day. But once I met someone who reminded me that I was still alive. And not because it was some love at first sight thing. It wasn't fate or destiny or any of that. It was just a moment. So simple and so real that it somehow flipped a switch inside me. Back then I had a stable but honestly boring job. Spreadsheets, calls, emails, repeat. The salary was fine, the people were fine, everything was just fine, except me. I started to feel gray, like all the color had slowly drained out of my life. I'd come home, eat something on autopilot, scroll through YouTube, and go to bed without really being there. Even the songs that used to move me, nothing. Sometimes I'd just lie there staring at the ceiling thinking, what's the point of all this? But no answers came. And the worst part, I stopped even looking for them. One evening, I was heading home. It was raining. That annoying kind of thin, cold rain that just seeps into everything. The bus was late. People around me were getting frustrated, muttering under their breath. I just stood there, headphones in, staring at the wet pavement. And then she showed up. Headphones too, holding this old, beat-up book. Her sneakers were muddy, her hair was damp, and yet she was smiling. Just standing there, smiling to herself. She took one earbud out, looked up at the bus schedule, and said quietly, "Guess the rain decided we're not getting home tonight." I smiled back, shrugged. When the bus finally came, there were no seats left, but I let her go first. We ended up standing next to each other. A few minutes later, she glanced at my backpack and said, "Hey, your bag's soaked." And for some reason, I just said, "Yeah, kind of like my life." She laughed. Not a polite laugh, a real one. The kind of laugh that's just alive. But we started talking about music. Turns out she listens to old Arctic Monkeys too. About movies. And how rain is the best excuse to buy coffee for no reason. She spoke simply, with this effortless calm, and I realized I hadn't listened to anyone that way in a long time. It lasted maybe 20 minutes, no more. But for the first time in ages, I felt something again. Not excitement, not love, just life. She got off a few stops before mine. I didn't ask her name or her number, not because I was shy, but because it didn't feel right to turn that moment into something else. I just watched her walk away into the rain, fixing her hair, turning the corner, then she was gone. But something had clicked. The next morning I woke up with this weird feeling. Not happiness exactly, more like clarity. Like I'd remembered something I'd forgotten for a long time. On the way to work, I caught myself actually looking around. I noticed the smell of coffee from the street cart, the sound of wet leaves under my shoes, even the faces of people passing by. Then small changes started happening. I stopped eating lunch in the office, started walking instead. A couple of weeks later, I joined a pool. Not to get fit, but just to feel my body again, not just my head. On weekends, I'd take random trips. I'd jump on a train, get off wherever, find a small cafe, grab a coffee, watch people. In one of those cafes, sitting by the window, I realized something. I was calm. Not happy. Not inspired. Just calm. And that calm felt better than anything I'd felt in years. It felt like being alive again. Later I remembered how she'd said, "Sometimes rain is just an excuse to stop for a minute." And that line stuck with me. Since then, I've called it the rain rule. Whenever things start spinning too fast, when I feel lost again, I stop I breathe. I look around. She left. But she left a rule. Maybe that's the point. Sometimes you don't need a big story or a happy ending. You just need someone to remind you that it's still okay to smile for no reason.